When we return, an Irish legend meets a Canadian classic on stage.
And he plays it so well, but he also plays the mandolin, which totally astonished me.
They've really maintained a young attitude, and it's really a neat feeling to be up there.
And he does it so well, just like an Irishman would.
Who is that there, no knocking me window pane? Who is that there, no knocking me window pane? Who is that there, no knocking me window pane? Only me, sister.
Something pretty interesting is likely to happen when a Canadian rock star puts down his guitar, picks up a mandolin, and joins a group of musical veterans on stage. This did happen last fall when Colin James performed with the legendary Irish group, the Chieftains. In this story, which was first broadcast in December, Paul McGrath reports on the meeting of two musical eras.
A refresher course for the forgetful. This is good old Canadian rock and roll. And this is traditional Irish music. Until the last decade, the people who played folk and rock were considered to be from two different worlds, but it ain't necessarily so. The two music traditions meet more often these days as rockers and folkies discover their common ground. Here at Vancouver's Queen Elizabeth Theatre, the audience is in for a rare treat. Colin James, Canada's peppy young rocker, meets the greatest names in Irish music, the Chieftains. The Chieftains have been plying their trade for 30 years. More than any other musicians, they are responsible for Irish music's high profile around the world. Wherever they go, they seek out like-minded people. And in Vancouver, there are few as like-minded as Colin James.
Big hand, ladies and gentlemen, for Colin James. Say yo! Oh-ho! Mighty hundred.
James is known, first and foremost, as a high-energy rocker, with 2 albums and a handful of Juno Awards to his name and a bright future ahead of him. To see him mandolin in hand and no amplifiers behind him is a revelation.
It's called Hewlett. All right, girls, take it away.
There's a surprising traditional background in James's life. Canada knows the rocker in him well, but very few people know this side of it.
Yeah, I mean, I really got into it when I was younger, so a lot of people wouldn't, you know, because I was too young to really play anywhere with it, except for like barn dances in the prairies and stuff with a lot of people that you know who you are, where we went and played a lot of, fiddle tune upon fiddle tune. So I just had to go back about 8 years to get it, to remember it, though.
Do a high one, but never mind.
James seemed to have forgotten very little earlier in rehearsal with the master, Paddy Maloney.
Finish out on the jig.
Maloney is the chief piper, arranger, and head imp of the Chieftains. He was impressed with James's abilities on a number of instruments when they met backstage a year ago at one of Colin's concerts.
Backstage, we had a little session on tin whistles. I remember he has Bonaparte's Retreat, my 6th album, and Banished Misfortune is one of his favourite tunes. So that's why we're doing this little session together. And he plays it so well, but he also plays the mandolin, which totally astonished me. And then for the song that we're doing with Kevin Conneff, he does the English verses. And he does it so well, just like an Irishman would.
Who is that there, no knocking me window pane? Who is that there, no knocking me window pane? Who is that there, no knocking me window pane? Only me, sister. Girl, dear, don't come any near to me. Girl, dear, don't come any near to me. Girl, dear, don't come any near to me. Maybe I shouldn't, sister.
The Chieftains have always managed to bridge the gap between generations and styles. For a decade, they have been the favored traditionalists of the rock and roll elite. They have played on stage or on albums with the likes of Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, Eric Clapton, The Who's Roger Daltrey, and many more. It keeps them ancient and modern at the same time.
They've been around for, a long time doing it, and they've really maintained a young attitude, which is something that's really neat. I mean, Patty is obviously, keeps really in tune with what's going on, and I think that's probably the lifeblood. And they're all great people.
The people who consider themselves hardcore rockers, why is it that you appeal to, that all of them seem to want to play with you? What is it about what you do that...
They love this, they feel this is getting back to roots, which in a way it is, they just love the whole sound of the band. Mick Jagger, in an interview, because I did something on his solo album, he was saying that, they never compromised, they never sold out. They've stuck to their sound. Duran, the king of all birds, I sing the day, got nothing to birds. Somebody catch them down with a man, give me a pay, you bury their hand.
Maloney and the Chieftains stick to their sound even at Christmas time. The band's recently released album and video, The Bells of Dublin, are not standard Christmas fare. The record features collaborations with half a dozen rockers, but there's barely a Silent Night on it. Instead, it's a rootsy, almost pagan Celtic celebration with the kind of music that has built their loyal audience over 3 decades. It reveals once again the Irish genius for moving the feet and the heart at the same time.
Sort of appeals to you. You don't have to explain anything. You don't have to listen to me or anything. Just the music itself. You can just sit back and listen to it, and it'll take you back in time. It's just like a language to us. It's what we grew up listening and taught our fathers and grandfathers before us played. And this almost applies to everybody in the band, in fact. So it's something that's inside in you, and you have to get out.
The energy released in this process is still a source of wonder to Colin James.
When you play with these guys, it's almost like anyone who's specialized in what they do, it just feels like a real machine going along, and it's really a neat feeling to be up there.
Back in a moment with a look at a story we'll be bringing you soon.